stepping through the doorway. I had to hold my hand to cover my eyes. The sun was incredibly bright, and there was a single cloud in the sky. This had given me the sad delusion that there will be some resemblance of warmth to be had, but bitter cold shattered the happy thought. I walked my coat tighter around me, doing the top button of which I always hate to. It brought in feelings of claustrophobia, probably linked to the fact that it constricted my neck ever so slightly. My shoes hit the tarmac, and I began to walk out into the playground. A lineup of excitable children following me out before, dispersing among the play equipment. Some sat in small groups on the circular benches, loudly talking about political power within the class. A smile crept over my face. Who knew 11 years old could discuss things in a way to make them sound like teenagers? Other classes were emerging now, and a few more teachers to help keep them watch. Jenny caught my eye, and I smiled and I gave a small nod in reply. Soon the playground was swamped with children, running around, playing games, excitedly discussing television shows, and which video games they were playing. Plenty felt the need to come and share this information with me, and I went along with this, laughing and smiling. Although they could be the cause of few accidents, the playground in a primary school often felt like one of the happiest places to be. I was content, but obviously alert to any potential dangers. It was then that I noticed her. There was a small girl, younger than the age I thought, maybe 6 or 7 years old from her build, but she was slumped in a corner next to a fence, hugging her knees to her chest. She wasn't wearing a coat, nor was she wearing a school jumper with a logo emblazoned on the front of the chest. She was sat on concrete, huddled in shadow, her dark hair cascading over her face as she lay down. She must have been freezing. I assumed she had some sort of argument with her friend and was away from the others, either sulking or genuinely upset. Either way, I had to console her and get her back inside the school to get her coat. I walked over and squatted down next to her, getting to the same level as her to make sure she didn't feel at all threatened. Hey there, are you okay? She shook her head, shaking some hair loose from her shoulder so that it could cover even more of her face. What happened? Silence. It was at this point that I began feeling uncomfortable. I had no idea why. I had had conversations just like this a dozen other times. Some children felt like talking, some needed consoling, some just needed space, and we gave them that. They usually spoke when they were ready, this situation told. Something about it had me on the edge to the point I could accidentally feel the adrenaline kick, a flight or fight response. Aren't you cold? And the shaking of the head. Then a mid pause came from the mass of hair. I never get cold. Some of us never give up that bravado, but children almost always responded like that. They were never too cold or tired or anything else that could be perceived as weakness, at least not when asked. Well, I think we need to get you inside to get your coat, or at least your jumper. No. The voice was no longer meek, it was commanding, and the head shifted slightly so that it was raised more towards me, revealing her face to me. I tried my best not to, but I recoiled slightly. In this light, the shadow of the fence, her eyes appeared entirely black. No iris, no sclera, just pure black ovals reflecting my own face. She sighed gently, and her eyes closed again. I want to play. Well, I began, slowing my breath and keeping the momentary fervor about out of my voice. You can play after we get your number. Will you play with me? Sure. She tilted her head back now, the hair falling away as her eyes snapped open suddenly again. Those eyes, the pure black pools reflecting my own concreted face. We have to pay. You have to play with me. I had stood up and taken a few steps back. She was shaking now, but it didn't seem to be shivering. There was no fear and nothing about her that suggested she was cold. It literally looked like she was shaking in anger. Her blank, expressionless face had contorted into one of anger, her eyes narrowing and her lips pulling back until her teeth were bared. I had stumbled back a few more steps and then had frozen. I felt simultaneously terrified and embarrassed. I was senior teacher in a playground full of children, and our staff was retreating in horror from one infant. I opened my mouth to speak, and then the bell went. The ringing, which symbolized the end of playtime. The anger vanished from her face, and her eyes closed again as children rushed towards me. Between us, none of them stopping to look at her as she rose from the ground. I found my feet and walked towards where my own class were lining up. My eyes locked on her as she stood upright, and once more I was shown darkness behind her eyelids as they opened. Her lips pulled up into a smile that chilled me more than anything I had encountered in my teaching career, and then, lost in the throng of running children, I lost sight of her. Once she was out of my sight, it was easy to dismiss what I had just seen as a trick of light. My own senses tricked, causing me to become afraid, which in turn caused my senses to let me down again. I never saw that girl again, never noticed her, so I could confirm or disprove what I had seen, and I moved school not long after that. Transferring somewhere closer to home, I had begun to put it out of my mind, dismiss it entirely. Then I stumbled upon a newspaper article on which spoke of a black-eyed art girl who had been frequently seen Sappho Desire. Looking onto it, I have found hundreds of accounts of those who had witnessed the black-eyed children, all describing the same sense of fear, dread, and foreboding which accompanied them and angered children displays when they discovered they were not anything but normal. Apparently, most of this involved these black-eyed children asking to come to your home, saying they need help, or coming up to your car begging for a ride. I had no idea what happens if we allow them in, and the teacher in me will find it difficult to turn them away. All I will say is look them in the eye before saying yes.